What do you do when your plans fail or do not work out as you planned it should be? You get anxious, get worried, and then what? Hello guys, you're welcome to my channel. My name is Princess Amarachi, and today's episode will be talking about how to handle anxieties in the face of uncertainties. Well, if you've been following this channel, this is a perfect time for you to subscribe and turn on the notification bell. And if it's your first time of watching, you're welcome to today's episode. You can as well subscribe and turn on the notification bell so that you will follow on our upcoming content and also on the past ones that we've been uploading. Now, quickly to the business of today. In times of anxiety, in times of uncertainty, what happens is that we are afraid that we have lost control of the situation. We are afraid that we don't know what's going to happen next, and we fear the future, or fear that we are about to fail or something bad is going to happen to us. So in the face of you lost a job, you lost your source of income, you're having a health challenge, all these kind of uncertainties that we face in life tries to breed anxiety, breed worry in our lives. But at these situations, at these times, in those kind of challenges, how do you handle it? Because trust me, anxiety takes you nowhere. Have you had the moment where you were so anxious, worried, afraid of what is going to happen to you in the next minute? How did you handle it? Share your experience with me in the comment section as we continue. Now, one of the things that I remember in times when I feel like this is a challenging time and when anxiety wants to step in is that I remember that this is not the first time I am overcoming a challenge. I try to think about, okay, there was actually a time when I was this anxious, where I was this worried, where I was this afraid, and what happened to that time? It's no more. I'm no longer telling that story, at least as a testimony right now, because the truth is I've overcome it and it's no longer my experience. So why would I let this particular situation weigh me down or put me in a tight bust? So if you ever get to a period where you are anxious, where you're worried, whether it is a new situation, understand that there are past situations, similar situations in the past that you have overcome. You get, okay, let's say your plans are not going the way you want it to be, or you got a very sad news, whatever story that it is, take a time to have a retrospection of how you handled such situations in the past, or handled situations that looked at you up front in the face in the past, and how you were able to conquer them and find yourself in this phase that you are in. So the truth is there's no situation that can be handled. So take that chill, have that understanding, and get up to face it. Or do you think that there are situations that are so new that they can't be conquered? For me, I believe that every situation that comes our way, we can handle it. Whether it's right here in our neck or not, we can handle it. And so that's one reason you need to think about it in the past. Okay, there was a time I failed in this and I felt like the whole world was going to crash on me. But here I am, doing better than I thought I could. How did I handle it? If I had wallowed in pain and the fear, would I be where I am today? Of course not. So that's enough reason for you to stand up and get at it. Don't you think so? Now, the second thing that I also want us to think about is at the moment where you get a sad news or where you're facing that challenge, at that initial moment, you might be prompted to take an action. But the first thing that you need to do is to take a moment to relax and then feed your mind on something else positive, especially if the situation is not a pleasant one. Yeah, it does work. Now, let's take, for example, when you get a report that doesn't go down well with you. And let's say your boss tells you that you didn't do well and that you're going to face a judgment the next day. How do you handle that? Do you just rise up and begin to tell everyone, oh, my boss said this, my boss said that? Or you try to transfer aggression on people? Oh, no, come on. The first thing you need to do is just relax, calm your nerves down. Just be quiet for a moment and then feed your mind on something else positive. There are a lot of good news out there that you can get your mind on. Get your mind on the Word of God, which is very much important. Get your mind on your families. Get your mind on the good news that you heard that day. And trust me, that will calm your nerves to think better on what else you're supposed to do. Have you ever done that before? And has it worked for you? It has for me. I'll wait to get your comments on that. Now, the third tip that is very much important is the act of gratitude. In the face of challenges that you really can change, in situations where something happened and you really can change that into the way it should be, at that moment of anxiety, at that moment of worry, it's time to count your blessings. Now, this sounds so easy to say and very hard for us to do, but it's a practice that over time we can learn to do. Because the truth is, every day of our life we'll face challenges, we'll face situations that are new to us and that demand us to take tough decisions. And if we don't learn to apply these principles and practice them every day, we will not get at it. Just that attitude of gratitude gives you a positive light to see the solution. That's just the magic. The magic of gratitude is that it gives you the positive eyes to see the solution. Because one thing anxiety does, that it robs you of today's joys and empties you of tomorrow's strength. Takes off the strength you have to work on today and still robs you of tomorrow's joy. But if you develop the attitude of gratitude, that's the magic to finding the solution to that problem in no distant time. So tell me, do you think it's possible for someone to still be grateful in the midst of anxiety? How possible do you think that is? Or do you think it's ironic? I'd like to get your thought on that. Now, finally, in the midst of anxieties, in the midst of worry, create a plan and work with it. One thing that I want to stress is that a lot of people that you see who are living every day are doing the things that they do afraid. They do it with so much fear, they do it with so much anxiety, yet the actions, their goal, their focus overshadows those fears and anxiety because they have a goal in mind and they have a future that they're looking up to. So it is not about dwelling on the worries that are coming up, because those things are deceit. They are tricks to take your eyes off the goal. But if you can learn to overshadow the voice of anxiety with the voice of focus and the voice of boldness and courage and confidence, you find yourself walking on that path that you have ordained for yourself. And take the step with boldness. Everyone you see that have done something has done it with some little butterflies in their belly, but the thing is they ignored it. So ignore that butterfly, ignore that voice of anxiety, ignore that voice of worry, because what it does is that it takes off the strength that you're supposed to put in to get at your goal and still robs you of tomorrow's joy, because it is only when you apply the strength of today that you'll be able to reap tomorrow's joy. Now, let me summarize what I said. I said that in the face of anxiety, worry, when you get a bad news, a bad report, a sad story, when things are not going the way you planned it, the first thing that you need to think about is, how have I been able to handle challenges in the past? Because the truth is, you've overcome a lot of challenges to come this far. Remember that you have overcome challenges and ask yourself, how have I been able to handle it? And for the fact that I've been able to handle these challenges in the past to get to this point is an indication that this is not new. This is not going to overshadow me. I'm not going to be engulfed in this. If you believe that, then you're certain that you're going to pass through that water and come out victorious. And I said the second thing that we also need to look into is to feed our mind on something else that is positive. And I always advise that you feed your mind on the promises of God in His Word, because that's the strongest boost that you can have to know where you're heading to understand that His promises are infallible, they don't fail, and God is unchangeable. So if you feed your mind on God's promises, then you're certain that whatever He has said is going to come to pass in your life. Now, the third thing I said is that it's good for us to be grateful, because an attitude of gratitude puts your eyes in the positivities for the solution. When we are anxious, when we are worried, when we are fixing our eyes on the negativities, when we keep thinking that we have lost control, the thing is, it becomes real to us that we've lost control. But if we develop the attitude of gratitude of all that we have, all that we have had, and all that we are about to have, we are energized to walk, we are energized to look deep, we're energized to focus, and then we'll see the solutions to the problems that we face. So gratitude is an energy that propels you to focus on the situation and then find a solution to it, because the truth is, we have a lot of things to be grateful for, even in the midst of the storm. I know that's not always easy, but it's something that we can do one at a time. So what are you grateful for? Always remember it in times of challenges and use that energy to find a solution to your problem. And the last that I said is that anxiety is not an excuse not to work. It's not an excuse not to get to work, to put your plan into action. So no matter how anxious you are or worried you might be, don't let that voice stop you from doing what you have to do. Don't let it stop you from putting the foot in the water. Don't let it stop you from launching into the deep. Don't let it stop you from going into what you want to do, because each and every one of us have been anxious at one point or the other, and yet we have not allowed that voice of anxiety to stop us from doing what we want to do. Anxiety is not an excuse, and nervousness is not an excuse, Worry shouldn't be an excuse for you not to do what you have to do. Never let that voice overshadow the voice of direction that is speaking in you. So get to work and get to work and get to work. Create your plan and take the steps little by little with patience, and you're certain you'll achieve your goal. So this applies to every aspect of our lives as it concerns you. Even if it's something God is telling you to do and you're so scared about taking that step of faith, well, it's time for you to ignore that voice of fear and walk with the voice of faith that is ringing in your spirit. And you won't regret it, not just now, but even in time to come. Well, I hope you enjoyed this episode and the content that comes from it. It's a perfect time for you to subscribe if you have not. And if you've not tapped the notification bell, it's also another opportunity for you to tap the notification bell so that you'll be informed on other content that comes up in subsequent times. Thank you so much for listening, but don't forget all the questions I asked, and I expect your responses on what you were grateful for, on how you've been able to handle situations of anxiety, and you think that anxiety and gratitude works together? Well, these are more questions that I want us to have a conversation around in the comment section. Thank you so much for listening to this point. I do hope that this episode and this video helps clear up that voice of anxiety and puts you into the place of confidence and courage to take the step this year and beyond. Thank you so much for listening. See you in the next episode. But until then, keep living every day from within to without. Take care. Bye.